Poetry. Poetry is a type of literature that conveys thoughts, describes a sense, or tells a story in a concentrated lyrical manner of words. The types of poems. We've got the blank verse, the rhyme poetry, the free verse, a narrative poetry, and the sonnet. What are the poetic devices? Poetic devices are a form of literature device used in poetry. A poetry is increased out of poetic devices composed of structure, grammatical, rhythmic, metrical, verbal, and visual elements.
A poem is created out of poetic device composed of structure, grammatical, rhythmic, metrical, verbal, and visual elements. They are essential tools that a poet uses to create rhythm, enhance a poet's meaning, or intensify a mood or feelings. Figurative language, an expression in which words or sound are arranged to achieve a particular effect. A hyperbole is an exaggeration of something in a poem. Example, when a poet says, "I am hungry enough to eat a horse." Let's check on the paradox. It's a statement that at first appears contradictory, but which, on closer examination, contains truth. Example, the longest shortcut. The next one is alliteration. Is the repetition of sound in nearby words, usually involving the first consonant sound. For an example, she sells seashells by the seashore. An assonance is the repetition of sound in nearby words involving similar vowel sound. Example, Moses supposed his toes are roses. Let's check on the connotations, the feelings and associations suggested by a word. The next poetic device is stanza. A stanza is a two or more lines of poetry that together form one of a division of a poem. The stanzas of a poem is usually the same length and following the same pattern of meter and rhymes. The next one is the refrain. A refrain is a line or lines repeated in interval during a poem, usually the end of each stanza. A refrain serves to establish a meter and tone, but it often gives a hint about a poem's message. The next one is a rhyme. A rhyme is a placing of words with similar end sound reasonably close together, emphasize the similar meaning of their sound. It usually occurs in the end of lines. For an example, I think that I should never see a poem as lovely as a tree. Let's check on the rhythm. A rhythm is a pattern of stressed and unstressed sound in poem, like a beat of music. Let's now check on the importance of it.
I'll be discussing the themes of the poem. What are themes of the poem? The themes of the poem, a theme is the underlying message that the writer or artist wants to convey in a poem. If a theme can feature in a poem, a short story, or a novel, there are in a poem there are themes such as love, religion, nature, beauty, aging, desire, dreams, and celebration. Love, it can be love for another person, it can be love of nature, it can be love of oneself. In a poem, a poet can convey love to a person or to another person, or can convey love to nature. And the second thing is beauty. Beauty comes in many forms. It can be seen through a natural beauty, a spiritual beauty, or action as well as assorted in other instances. Nature is also another theme poets like to use, and nature is one of the most utilized themes in poetry in recorded history of the poem, due to the wide-ranging connections and impossibilities of perfectly defining it. That makes it such an elusive and engaging theme. It is easier to describe nature or send a message about nature because everybody knows what nature is and everybody knows everything in nature and everybody loves nature. The importance of the theme is to make you understand what is the importance of the poem, what is the message the writer is trying to convey. You can get that through the theme of the poem, because if you don't understand the theme of the poem, then you'll only listen to rhymes and flows in a poem, but you'll not understand the message of, whereas the message is the most important thing in the first place for the writer to write the message, to write the poem. Hence they use themes for us to understand the message underlying beneath the poem and the importance of the poem. There are also voices in a poem. There are poetic voices. Poetry has a speaker, someone who's the voice of the poem. Oftentimes, the speaker can be the writer or the author of the poem himself, and the speaker can take the voice of a persona, the voice of someone else, including an animal or an animated object. The voice is the one that makes us listen to the poem and try to get the emotion and the rhythm of the poem, as well as we get the theme of the poem. And there are different kind of voices in a poem. There's an inspirational voice whereby poets use when they try to inspire us. They use the inspirational voice so that the listener could be inspired to listen, and the voice also takes the attention of the listener of the poem so that the listener can understand what the writer is trying to say and what the writer is saying. And there's also a motivational voice. The motivational voice often use the motivational voice when they want to motivate the listeners. When they try to tell a poem that can motivate someone, they'll use the motivational voice, and the inspirational one when they try to inspire someone. And there's also the cynical voice. A cynical voice shows or expresses a bitterly or soothingly attitude. That's how the poet wants us to convey.